As you can see again, I'm naked today. But totally, the video is about ancient Judea, or the Israelites, or whatever you want to call it, post-Canaan. I mean, if we're going to be indifferent, we just call it Canaan, but it's Palestine geography because Canaan is a biblical word, but whatever. The Bible as a history is very accurate, and I'm not saying that for the sake of trying to back up the Bible. I think we wind up dismissing whenever we hear about the kings of Judah, dismissing them just because it's in the Bible, because we live in a society that had revolted against church and state getting mixed. And it's popular to claim none of these kings existed, although every year it seems like there's another piece of archaeology. I mean, they proved David's existence. They proved all the kings after David, at least, existed, which were in question. The Hittites, scholars said, was proof that the Bible wasn't correct, because it had this mythical people, the Hittites. They wound up digging up their capital about 150 years ago. No, about 100 years ago. Now you hear about the Hittites, the Egyptians, of course the Romans and the Greeks. But ancient Judea was a force to be reckoned with. I mean, we read from the Maccabees. I heard somebody say Maccabees was written by Origen. He emphasized second Maccabees was written by Origen. He said first, I think he said first Maccabees was, which is crazy, even for this person who I respect very much. But yeah, the Roman state, they were a people who were not going to be controlled. You had the Maccabees rising up and scaring the hell out of everybody under the Seleucids. And this is post the kings. I mean, this is after. People talk about the Second Temple being Herod's temple. No, that would technically be Third Temple if you're talking about it. The Second Temple was built by Zerubbabel. The Maccabees had treaties with Sparta and Rome against the Seleucids. And then I believe Ptolemy took over. There was a war, and then Rome quickly came in after them, Pompey. And even under Rome, the Jews were allowed to not burn incense to the emperor, and they wouldn't be killed. They were allowed their own worship without mentioning the emperor's name, praising him as a god. The Romans had a real strained relationships with the Jews, because the Jews were identified by their religion, mainly. I mean, it's funny, the Maccabees, after the Maccabees, the Jews become very Hellenized people. And those were their ancient enemies, with the Hellenized people, the Philistines, the Greeks, the sea peoples. This idea that, the Bible, it was just work of fiction. And I mean, up until, 200 years ago, people were saying, no, actually, I think almost until about the time of the Civil War, they were saying that the Bible was written in medieval times and that none of it took place. But ancient Israel, well, I shouldn't say ancient Israel. Ancient Israel was a small kingdom that kept getting weakened and weakened, got wiped off the face of the earth. Oh, Judah was spared, but for what? A few years, and then it got wiped out. But when it came back, the Jewish people really had an identity of themselves as wandering people who needed a land. I know there's that in Moses, but we can't. I mean, if we're speaking history, it would be too much to bite off to try to defend the Exodus and all that. Even though I totally think absolutely happened, but I think it happened 400 years before it was recorded in the Bible, before the Bible records it happening. So this argument that Romans would have never bowed to Jewish custom, they did all the time. They were scared of messiahs. They were scared of another Judas Maccabeus. They got one, Bar Kokhba, except Judas Maccabeus is a great saint. I prayed to him lately. Prayed to him many times. The first book of the Bible I read was Maccabees. It's like an action story. I loved it. I still love it. It's probably one of the best books. I mean, best books. Not even in the Bible. I mean, I love the Maccabees. But the Bar Kokhba rose up and fended off the Romans for a while. See, the Masada, it took them, had to build a damn ramp to get up there, and still the Jews attributed it to the will of God, and I think the Romans did too, because the way they had the ramparts built, they had brick, wood with clay, and then brick, which was, I don't know if they knew at the time, was ingenious, because you can put a battering ram through because you're pushing clay against wood, which just makes it pack harder. It caught fire, and they were praying, and the fire's going one way, and then it was going the other, and then it was seen as a decision of God for Masada to fall. You know, the Zealots, who were awaiting another Judas Maccabeus, another Messiah, a warrior king. This is where the Jews get their idea that the Messiah should be a warrior king. That's a different topic. That's going to start an argument against some Jews. Then you had the Sicarii, who were people who carried around daggers in the folds of their clothes. Kill people right in public. Ninjas, assassins, whatever you want to call them. These were not a people to be screwed with. That's why Rome had to stamp them down a couple of times. They burned the temple, kicked all the Jews out of Jerusalem. And then after Bar Kokhba, they said, okay, no more Judea, no more Galilee, no more Samaria, this and that. It's Palestine. We're naming it after the Philistines, because that was their word for Philistines. Palestine. So they named it Palestine ever since. This video kind of wasn't on topic to begin with, and it's going to go off topic now. The people who are now living in the land of Palestine are not the Philistines, and it's funny that they refer to themselves as Philistines. They shouldn't make the claim that they are the Philistines, because Philistines were a foreign group that came in that got destroyed under Sennacherib and Nebuchadnezzar. And it's funny, the only people that really exist to this day are the Jews. Now you could say, well, that's because of Christianity coming in, and Islam, where convert people's nation really doesn't. I mean, they're not held to a national religion in that sense. I mean, I realize Christianity would become a national religion much later on, though. In Islam, again, you have but it's more of a pan-national religion. So people had no need to stand out as Moabites or Edomites. I think there's even an account of the Edomites actually converting to Judaism in mass or something like that. I think it was more at the point of the sword. I think it was under Judas Maccabeus. I got to go back and read. It's been 18 years since I've read the book, since I sat down and read it. No, that's not true. It was the first time I read it. I read it 12 years ago. I still need to reread it. This is in full. I mean, I've gone back and read parts of it. But it's so funny. We accept the Egyptian kings readily. Well, they're written in stone, and Well, no, they're really not. Um, there's a lot of confusion about those kings, who was king, what time they ruled, were they real, or was it the same king as another one, get a different name. The Roman emperors we know. Well, the finding of the scrolls of Qumran, Dead Sea Scrolls, it's magnificent. I mean, there's basically no change to the Bible. Uh, this video is really going off topic because I have to say something too. There's many people say, see, this book wasn't there because it wasn't written yet. Everything that was there, basically. That every book that we recovered was all and only the books that the Jews had. That's insanity. Someone tried to claim that, oh, because First Maccabees wasn't there, that it couldn't have existed at that time. Well, this was there. That was no. It just something meant they didn't use it. It's like discovering a New American Standard Bible 2,000 years from now and saying, see, Ben Sirach wasn't there. It didn't exist before 2011. The Maccabees couldn't have been written before 2011. We don't see it in there. This is a very odd video. My mind is totally unfocused. I got a phone call that kind of stopped making my brain work. I may not even make videos. I don't know. Very confusing right now. Probably going to be up all night, so I'm going to go get a pack of cigarettes. Probably watch some Pandora's Boxes videos. Try to get my mind off stuff. So, peace to everybody out there. Side note, you should never give up on love or fate or happiness or destiny or something that the better life, the dream, fantasy, the poetry of life. And it's sad that there are people who, when they become atheists, all this stuff goes out the window for them. There is no magic in life. There is no beauty. Now, I know most atheists, even the ones that profess that, don't believe that they can. Because then love would just be chemical reactions in the brain and not a feeling. Feelings aren't even feelings. They're not even real. They're just a computer, biological computer that became self-aware, which is a miracle within itself. So I don't know what this video says. But peace to you out there, and choose the better life. Choose the path not taken. You've been waiting to do something, and do it now. It's good to be happy and excited. And when you get into monotony, sometimes you fear that. And in fear, you retreat to comfort and safety. Sometimes you should be out on the battlefield. Makes you better. Makes you more you. It's the opposite of sin. Sin is missing the mark. Origin. He emphasized second Maccabees was written by Origin. He said first, I think he said first Maccabees was, which is crazy. Even for this person who I respect very much. But, yeah, the Roman state, They were a people who were not going to be controlled. You had the Maccabees rising up and scaring the hell out of everybody under the Seleucids, and this is post the kings. I mean, if we're going to be indifferent, we just call it Canaan, but it's Palestine geography because Canaan is a biblical word. But whatever. The Bible as a history is very accurate, and I'm not saying that for the sake of trying to back up the Bible. I think we wind up dismissing whenever we hear about the kings of Judah. As you can see again, I'm naked today. But totally, the video is about ancient Judea, the Israelites, or whatever you want to call it, post-Canaan, which were in question. The Hittites, who scholars said was proof that the Bible wasn't correct, because it had this mythical people, the Hittites. They wound up digging up their capital about 150 years ago. No, about 100 years ago. Now you hear about the Hittites, the Egyptians, of course the Romans and the Greeks. But ancient Judea was a force to be reckoned with. I mean, we read from the Maccabees. I heard somebody say Maccabees was written by them just because it's in the Bible, because we live in a society that had revolted against church and state getting mixed. And it's popular to claim none of these kings existed, although every year it seems like there's another piece of archaeology. I mean, they proved David's existence. They proved all the kings after David, at least, existed.